We move to our last speaker, or let's say contribution, because it will be a movie sent from our friend in Ukraine called Alexander Shevchenko, who's a urbanist and civil engineer and working in city development and also civic engagement. And he runs or leads Restart Ukraine, which is very interesting initiative and already inspiring, because they already think what they're gonna do after the war ends. And that needs courage. And it's about 20 minutes movie, so hope you would all enjoy. Thank you very much.
When the war will be over, more than 400 municipalities will require simultaneous recovery. Who will do that? My name is Alexander Shevchenko. I'm the founder of Restart Ukraine, and together with my colleagues and teammates from urban and architecture field, we took the action right from the start. What is Restart Ukraine? Restart Ukraine as an initiative, is an NGO, is a project which seeks for a holistic approach for recovery of various Ukrainian municipalities. And we analyze it from 3 different perspectives. The first one is the challenges of the pre-war times. The second one is the damage of the war. And the third one is the future challenges which will reach us quite soon. And we're trying to think about them in a holistic manner, understanding how it should be addressed and tackled on the municipal level. We came up with a basic methodology which is something very contrary to the silo-oriented approach where we have economics separated from ecology, separated from transport, which gives us a certain logic how we should address the recovery in an integrated manner, both across the topics and also amongst the stakeholders. And throughout this methodology, we can see 9 clusters which actually address the data-based planning, so evidence-based planning in the recovery actions, which addresses the aspects of the returning back to home, not necessarily on the place of previous living. It addresses the aspects of the debris management. How do we ensure that the ecological trace of the war would be minimized and in perfection would be circulated and upcycled? How do we actually predict what will happen to our areas in the future, considering the future challenges and trends? And how do we go through the projects and processes of the planning, participation, building and financing the recovery? This is quite complex, and we tried to structure this material, structure these challenges in our work for Ukrainian municipalities. Going a step backwards, of course, we analyzed the best practices from various countries such as Afghanistan, Syria, Lebanon, Balkans. And of course, we saw some similarities. However, we understand and acknowledge that a very much context-based approach is something which we need. We cannot just copy-paste practices and bring them to Ukraine. However, a granular and tailor-made approach here is a must. So that's why we built our work on 3 main outputs for the year of 2022, because we didn't have any clue what will happen to us during this year. So that's why we focused on very specific and tangible things, which for us were a data-based analytical platform, its prototype, which we can scale up and which we are working on. So how to combine various data layers in comprehensive and integrated ways so we can draw some assumptions, some hypotheses for the municipality to grow for the future. We created a framework for the spatial recovery of the municipalities, as easy as a shopping bucket list. And we created a case study for the city of Chernihiv, which was early liberated in April 2022. So for us, these three components build up the work of Restart Ukraine during the first year of action. Why did we do this in such manner? We understood we will be very much limited to do municipality by municipality as a simple office or a simple bureau. That's why we thought we should activate system change. We should activate scalability of this process. And this is why we came up with these three tools. And we tested them on the Chernihiv city. And this is how we tried to combine both participatory approach, talking to people, understanding their needs, understanding their pain, but also projecting it to the future, using various types of data, remote sensing, questionnaire, field work, and others, together with a new way of thinking, with new trends in urban and planning and strategic development, in climate change adaptation, and many, many others. And also trying to build up this model of human-centered living, where we have a human in the middle of the recovery process, a human that will receive another level of quality services throughout the period of the recovery. So let's take a look on the recovery in three phases, because we believe it is very important to distinguish one from another. And because of the various stakeholders and also various approaches we have in each of them. So these three phases are humanitarian response. This is something which happened through many, many organizations which came up early to Ukraine to support people in need, to support people without a roof above the head, without food and water. However, this is something very initial and needs to be carried on in a very careful manner. As urban planners and architects, we operate with the space. So space for us is the asset. And today the asset is space, time, and of course resources, funding. So combining these three in a very careful and compact matrix for us is the key to build up a comfortable place, a safe place for Ukrainian society in the future. So I mentioned the first humanitarian response, which is about people in need, which is about people who lack basic services and they were provided. So when we end up with this phase, we moved to the second phase, which is actually early recovery. And early recovery for us is not about it's not about fast food taking project of a school from one side and project of a kindergarten from the other side. For us, it is about a clear understanding of what services are lacking for the society and how we can provide the most essential tools and focus and concentrate on them so we can empower people to come back, so we can empower people to live their full life as much as possible during the war and after the war. And of course, then the third approach, which is the growth, the economic development, the sustainable development, which will come in a period after the war will be over, resulting in really clear and clever, complex projects which will change the way of living of Ukrainians. But for that, we need to establish a very clear urban or rural structural framework in space where all these projects will sit and how they will correspond one to another. So the idea of taking Chernihiv as a case study for this matter was to examine how is it possible in theory with the availability of data, with the willingness of the stakeholders to work together within such rough conditions, but also understanding what is the context for the sustainability in Ukraine. Because sustainability is a global trend, however, for us in Ukraine during the war, after the war, it has some very specific features which I would like to touch. So sustainability from the ecological point of view, is addressing the ecosystem-based approach in management of the environment in Ukraine. It is about recovery of the natural areas which suffered of the war. It is about reducing the carbon footprint and making sure that our environment is the basis for our growth, but it's not the resource for the exploitation. Then we talk about the economic aspect. It is about changing Ukraine from a commodity country to the added value country, accelerating numerous tech sectors which are already blooming during the war. And with regards to the social component, it is about reintegration of the veterans. It is about taking care of the vulnerable people groups. It is about reestablishing the balance, the demographic balance, bringing people back from all over the world back to Ukraine, but also distributing them evenly across the country, because when the war has started, people moved, and they moved a lot. And activating the post-war areas is first of all about bringing people back. So let's take a look on Chernihiv. So we started to analyze this case study according to our methodology. And first of all, we established a very clear and organized structure of data where we were able to integrate different layers together and base all our assumptions, all our ideas on specific information. So first of all, looking on the housing which was damaged. Where was it damaged? What was the structure? How many square meters? How many people? And what is the logic behind returning people back and reestablishing, repairing, recovering their houses, their homes? And we thought that not necessarily it would be a symmetrical approach, so we repair everything which was broken. However, we analyzed the structure of the city, and we also analyzed the structure of the solutions. And we came up with the specific areas where specific types of housing could be constructed, actually helping the city, not only the people, but the city and the people, in order to make the city more dense, more even, more balanced by this action. Another aspect was the debris management, because we cannot just put it to the dump site. We were trying to analyze how can we recycle and upcycle these materials, using them in the recovery process. And there was also this approach using remote sensing data, suggesting where the debris could be collected and later on reused, because we could clearly understand which type of material was focused, was gathered in which area. And then this is for us the early recovery. This is the early response. And later we come to more fundamental aspects of the city recovery, which is about the risk management. How do we ensure that the future challenges and the future threats would not be as much destructive as they used to be before? So once the city is not yet fixed, we can actually analyze the hotspots for either environmental threats or military threats or any other threats producing the risk profile of the city, and actually specifically fixing some areas as a risk zone, so we do not build along the river or we do not block the only evacuation route. This is something we have learned and something we would like to use in our work further on. But also we analyzed Chernihiv from the urban analysis point of view, and we figure out several obstacles for the future growth. And in case we speak now about its recovery, we would like to emphasize that these are the pre-war barriers we can actually fix right now. It is about the connectivity within the city. It is about the use of the green and blue zones. It is about the sustainable mobility and many other things. So we came up with a concept which is thematically divided into 4 main solutions, which is about the community-based area. So we do not invest exclusively only to the center of the city, but we activate the periphery, understanding and acknowledging, using the surveys, using the interviews, what are the exact shapes of these communities, understanding what is the infrastructure needed there, understanding how they communicate and interact one with another. The other aspect, the other component of the concept we provided for Chernihiv was the integration of the green water infrastructure to the life of the city, establishing the structure of green and green ways, green lines, and clearly understanding what are the points of reinforcements, what are the points of growth, and which type of projects we are able to provide there. So this type of approach using data is very important for us because we know that the funding will be limited for the recovery, and we have no second chance to reinvest in the city using this amount of the resources. So we want to be very granular and clear about what we do and why do we do this. So the third one is the barrierless environment within the city. And it's not only about the physical barriers of the, let's say, a river or a railway, but it's also about the barriers between the districts, some mental barriers, and we were able to identify some patterns by proxy of Strava or other heat maps, understanding why people do not go from point A to point B. There might be an obstacle. We figured that out, and we clearly understand why some areas are not interacting one into another, which really excludes some new projects, some new connections, some new communication within the city. And the fourth concept is multi-purpose. Despite being very close to Russian border, we understand that the core of the city development would be the economy. And as more diverse and diversified and different would be the economic profile, the more people will come there and to invest and to work. Of course, the security and the safety is an issue. However, we believe it would be solved, so we need to provide some solid and stable basis for this development. Of course, we cannot impose any specific sectors because it is a free market, but we understand which specific areas could be used for that. And by this, we are very much able to promote very specific formats of fab labs, incubators, accelerators, experimental laboratories, and so on and so forth within the city. And of course, when the small and medium enterprise will grow, they always can move and leave to the industrial park. So within Restart Ukraine, with this, we see municipality as a startup, which basically has to grow using very limited amount of resources and without any second chance to try. This for us is a very clear and data-based approach, which is something contrary to a charisma-based approach of leadership in Ukrainian municipalities. So definitely a capacity building for this is a must. So this example of Chernihiv was our work during 2022, and we figured out many good experience and sometimes not very good experience. But right now in 2023, Restart Ukraine sees itself as a leader of the sustainable and comprehensive recovery plans development for the municipalities. So of course we are coordinated and synchronized with the Minister of the Recovery, with the Agency for the Recovery and also with the several international organizations and foundations and donors. But we understand that the recovery will happen on the level of the municipalities. The recovery would be owned and designed together with the people of the municipality. Of course, some major regional or national projects might appear here or there, but the strong municipality would be the one who owns this plan. And this is why we are now entering another cycle of a project where, together with the municipality in a very direct cooperation, we will be going through basically the same process I described with the municipality in the south, close to the Black Sea, where the population is lower, the opportunities are not that extreme as in Chernihiv in comparison, of course, but the challenges are sharp. The brain drain is present. The climate change is approaching. So we will be going through four main pillars of activation, preparing for the recovery concept. First one would be the iterative urban planning. How can we actually run the cycle of urban planning in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, ensuring that there is a growth of services and that we are not acting chaotically and sporadically, but we grow as a tree from small circle to a bigger and solid tree, which is stable and is not dependent only on the foreign grants, but also has a very good roots here in Ukraine. The second one would be providing a very good response to the social recovery, because it is very much underestimated how do we see the recovery only as a built environment recovery, infrastructure recovery, bridges, roads, but it's about people. It's about bringing people back to their way of most effective operating, about their comfortable living, even in country after the war. And it's also about the organizational ties between the people within the municipality. It's about relations and links between administration, business, and civic society. It's not administration who does everything and everybody is criticizing them and waiting, but it is about people who actually co-create together. How to reach that? It's a very much global problem. However, we see that there is a momentum here because the civic society was so strong facing the enemy, facing the Russian enemy. So we see that this potential could be used for the co-creation within the peaceful time. The third pillar we will be building on is the digital toolbox, which is basically about the thing I described before to you about Chernihiv. We collect the data, we structure the data, we update it every month, every week, and we teach the municipality how to use it. But moreover, we teach how to build hypotheses and assumptions for the future plans, for the future development. And we try to understand also how we make it legally possible to rely on this data within the bureaucratic mechanism of the municipality. Last but not least, it is the resilience. We definitely understand that there might be no all time we need for the recovery. There might be next coronavirus, next migration crisis, next climate change crisis. And we need to be very much flexible and adaptable to the upcoming threats, not stopping with our recovery, but pushing through even despite these challenges. And this resilience or risk profile development for the municipality will help us actually be prepared with some basic scenarios also in space. How do we push through no matter what? So with this, I would like to end up my short presentation about how do we work under high level of uncertainty for the recovery of the municipalities in Ukraine. And it is not only about the professional community, it is about a very careful mix of professional community with the local people on ground, with the use of data, technology, and best practices, understanding carefully that human basic ordinary human is in the center of the process, and we need to ensure that this human is protected and has some chance for their better future. Thank you for your attention.
So, thank you very much. Well, we can't ask Alex anything, but it was amazing what they're doing in Ukraine, and we just approached to the end of the conference. I would like to say thank you to all of you. It was a great pleasure. Thank you to all the speakers. One great round of applause for all of you. So Project Košice 2.0 is heading to its end, and it will end by 30th of June, but we will follow with the activities. So if you're interested, please follow either City of Košice or Creative Industry Košice or any other partner of the project. And there will be some other projects as well and some other activities. And I also want to use this stage to invite you, those who are interested in how we work with urban planning, youth, and using digital tools. There is a little conference tomorrow about how we use Minecraft and enable youngsters to imagine the cities. And there is a refreshments, drinks, Prosecco, I've been said, waiting for you next door. So before you get there and mingle with the speakers and with other participants, please, those of you who have headsets for interpretation, the headphones, please leave them at the door. And now it's my final word. I would like to say thank you to all my team who make this possible. So round of applause to them. Thank you very much. I would like to say thank you to our interpreters who did great work. Thank you to K13, our partner in the project, for the venue and technical support and production. And of course, we have to say thank you to European Union and UIA program to supporting innovations and experimentation on a urban scale. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. See you maybe tomorrow, and see you in October for Ardent Tech Days and other activities we have. Thank you very much. Enjoy.